Roles, and now we will have the pleasure of hearing our first speaker, Mary Sirey. Advice. It comes to us from many angles: family, boss, Dr. Phil, magazines, blogs. It's like we don't use pens, it's a computer, right off. A little inside joke between me and Jack there. There's probably an app that dispenses advice too. How do you decide what advice to take and what to ignore? It took our next speaker over a half century to find her optimal source of advice, her very own self. Let's welcome Mary Sirey. Yes, I could. Mary's 3 rules for marriage.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. How many people in this room are married or have been in a long-term relationship? Let's see. Let's count up the years. 20 years or more. Some hands. Let's see, 25. Did I tell you that this is cumulative? You can add them up. 35? I'm 35. Okay, 45. Well, somewhere between 35 and 45. We've got probably 200 years of experience in marriage in this room and long-term relationships. About 3 years ago, I went out to lunch with the project team. I was the oldest person there, and I mentioned to them that my 25th wedding anniversary was coming up, and their question to me was swift: what's the secret? Well, fellow Toastmasters, I had the answer, and I'm here to deliver to you Mary's 3 rules of marriage. Rule number 1, you must learn to put up with each other's weirdness. Yeah, the good times are easy, but it's when you have to learn to cope with your partner's habits that they're never going to break, and you have to learn somehow how to cope with them. Now, I'm not talking about the non-negotiables, the things that are the showstoppers. For instance, body odor would be a non-negotiable. I think, too, that a man who does not lower the toilet seat. For me, that man would not get a second date. These are just those funny little habits. Case in point, my husband and his jar tightening abilities. Well, you probably think I'm going to talk about how he just reefs on every jar so that I can't get it open and I have to run to them and say, "Would you open the mayonnaise jar, please?" It's the opposite. My husband places lids on jars. It's almost like it's a booby trap for me. Yeah, and the big trick comes in the form of a bottle of Italian salad dressing that I innocently go to, grab it, and give it a shake. Bottle cap flies across the kitchen, followed by a stream of oil, vinegar, herbs, and spices on the cabinet, on the counter, down me and on the floor. Now, I've heard of tossed salad, but I don't think I look like lettuce leaves. But how do I cope with that? It's a weirdness. I just learned to tighten the lids on everything because he is never going to tighten them behind himself. So I asked him, "John, do I have a weirdness?" "Yes." Right away. I answer the question exactly as he poses it. When he asks me, "Do you have your cell phone?" "Yeah, I've got my cell phone." He recounts a story where we went to a mall. He asked me, "Do you have your cell phone?" "Yes, I do," proudly. We split up, and then when he's done, he starts calling me. And he calls, and he calls, and I don't answer. When he finally found me coming out of a dressing room, he said, "You said you have your cell phone." "Well, yeah, I do." And I pulled it out. "Is it on? Is it charged? And is the ringer on?" My weirdness is I only answer the I don't take it a step further to answer all those other questions, so he has to ask them specifically. Mary's rule number 2. You have to let your partner pursue his passion on his own. And this one's a little more difficult to talk about because I learned the lesson the hard way. I have a 28-year marriage that I'm in now, but I had a 7-year failed marriage early on. It was that trial run. I have to hand it to my partner, to my husband. He knew his passions at an early age. He loved hiking, backpacking, especially cross country, with just a map. I was by his side for 5 years, but I was not happy. I subscribed to that fallacy that his happiness is my happiness. A lot of us baby boomer women and our mothers follow that philosophy, and it doesn't work. So after 2 frustrating years, we finally called an end to it. We split up. He got custody of all the friends. I was alone, but I really relished that solitude because it gave me the chance to get caught up with myself, to get my foundations firm, and discover my passions. I went back to college, I got my degree, I started a new career. I got a piano and a dog, 2 things that I had been denied, and I got a new husband out of the deal too. 28 years later, he has a woodworking shop, I have a sewing studio. He has golf, and I have Toastmasters. Mary's rule number 3. I call this the doggy rule. Greet them exuberantly when they come home and give them a treat once in a while. We've had 5 dogs. We're on number 5 right now. And what I really loved about, well, I can't say I loved it, what I really missed about each of those pets when they died was that I didn't have that greeting when I came home. They're ready to leap out of their skin. They're so happy to see you. It makes you feel like you're very important and they couldn't live without you. Well, what if we extend that to our partner? Not jumping on them or barking, no, that would be silliness. But just a big greeting of, hi dear, I'm home, or a kiss goodbye or a kiss hello. Just something simple, it makes you feel special. And give him a treat? Well, I know that John likes chocolate. I'm not a big chocoholic. Once in a while, when I'm out shopping, I see a special display of chocolate. I know what he wants, no more than 75% cocoa, and has to be all dark chocolate with no nuts or anything else in it. And I'll give him a little present. And what do I get in return? He went to Seattle last week, and I got a little slab of smoked salmon. It was delicious, just for me. 3 rules. The weirdness rule, the passion rule, and the doggy rule. Now, I'm not a marriage counselor. I don't have any credentials for giving people advice for how their marriage works, but it has worked for me. And I think the lesson from this is you have to observe your life, see what works, what doesn't, and in those areas where you're experiencing a failure, step up and try to learn a lesson from it. Mr. Toastmaster.